Well, good morning. It's good to be with you on this Monday morning. As you can tell, things are a little different today. I'm in class all week this week with my doctoral work, so I'm going to be working from home, having Zoom class all week long. I am really old, and I don't know how much I like technology for class, but we'll know more after this week. So anyway, since I won't be in the office, I'm going to be doing Rooted from the house. So today we're going to be quality of the video probably won't be as nearly as good. I've got my iPhone mic here to hopefully make the sound halfway decent. But say we're going to be picking back up with John 13. Will be John 13 verses 21 through 30. That's John 13, 21 through 30. After he said this, Jesus was troubled in his spirit and testified, "Very truly I tell you, one of you is going to betray me." His disciples stared at one another, at a loss to know which of them he meant. One of them, the disciple whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter motioned to this disciple and said, "Ask which one he means." Leaning back against Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It is the one to whom I will give this piece of bread that I have dipped when I have dipped it into the dish." Just then, just then dipping the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered in him. Jesus told him, "What you're about to do it quickly." But no one at the meal understood why Jesus said this to him, since Judas had charge of the money. Some thought Jesus was telling him to go and buy what was needed for the festival, or to give something to the poor. As soon as Judas had taken out the bread, he went out, and it was night. So we see here a continued lack of understanding. What's happening? I'll be honest with you, I don't quite understand. I've never. Okay, so we picture this scene much like Da Vinci's Last Supper. They're sitting at tables, like we think of tables, like you're going to the dinner table. That's how we envision this, don't we? We envision it in our own kind of modern concept or American or Western understanding of what a table is. But we see, notice what it says here in verse 25. So leaning back against Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" So what they were doing here was more reclining on the floor almost even. It was more of a sitting on the floor almost than a table. And so um, it would have been very easy to misunderstand what it's saying. So Jesus says what he says, and then Peter, uh, it's not apparent that the entire crowd understood what was happening here. So Jesus says, when he was going to betray me, what's it going to be? Peter tells John, "Hey, ask him what's up." John leans back and Jesus replies to John. So this is not Jesus saying, "Okay, y'all, like whoever gets this next, they're going to betray me." It seems as though a lot of this is happening kind of out of earshot of the rest of the disciples, because it says the rest of the disciples wondered what Jesus meant when he said this. Was he going to get something for the festival? Well, they didn't exactly know what's happening. So, but we see here this notion of betrayal, that Judas betrays is gonna be the one to betray Jesus. And there are a lot of I tend to subscribe to the theory. What's happening here is that um, Judas was in some ways maybe trying to force the hand of Jesus. Think about how often in Scripture we see someone trying to force Jesus to make him king, how often they tried to make him king. It's a very constant theme throughout Scripture. So we see towards his life, Jesus is letting them know, I'm not going to be an earthly king. Like I'm not sitting in an earthly kingdom. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm about. And so they weren't getting it, and they may not have liked it. Probably didn't like it because they were expecting an earthly kingdom. An earthly kingdom meant earthly power for them. And so Jesus is here saying that's not what's going to happen. So there is a theory, perhaps, that what Judas was doing was that Jesus was trying to force his hand. Well, if Jesus is not going to start the revolution, if Jesus is not going to do it, then I'm going to kind of make him do it. I'm going to kick things off. I think that probably actually makes a lot of sense. But what we see in John's gospel here is that there's a spiritual reality to what's happening in front of everyone. And so whether Judas was upset about Jesus's decision or whether he was trying to force Jesus' hand for something, all those could be completely valid things. But what John is showing us here is that, irregardless of any of that, there's a spiritual reality happening here that's deeper than any of these things. And that this was the plan, that Jesus was going to die for our sins. The devil was going to attack Jesus, much like he always does. The scripture tells us he's the accuser of the brethren, that the devil was going to attack. And we see that Judas was a willing foil, if you will, in what happens here. So all this we see here that this collaboration between what Judas may have been thinking, what the historical stuff was, but I want you to understand the spiritual reality, that there's a spiritual reality in all of life. And sometimes we only want to think about the tangible, what we can see. I know my wife and I have had this conversation. As I've shared with you before, my Holly is much really has the gift of faith. And there's been so many times in my ministry, so many times in my life when things happen that I don't understand or that I might be upset about or things like this. And she'll look at me and say, this is just spiritual warfare. This is spiritual warfare. And we, particularly those of us who lean to a rational, understand, we don't like to get all, I'm a Methodist. We don't always get into all of that. But I think sometimes for those of us who really, as I've said before, ground our faith in the rational mind, sometimes the supernatural feels scary. It feels unsettled. It feels uncontrollable. And by the way, all of those things are true. It is uncontrollable. The stuff of God is uncontrollable. And quite often, sometimes evil is uncontrollable as well. So this can be frightening. It can be hard to understand. But just because these things are challenging or hard doesn't mean that they're not true. And we see with Judas that there was an underlying spiritual reality behind all that was happening. And in our lives, there's always a spiritual reality of what is happening, and that God's presence is always there with us in the difficult times, in the hard times, in the times of trial and of fear and of doubt. God's presence is always there with us. And likewise, there's going to always be spiritual struggles and trials and worries and fears and attacks. So in the same way that God's presence is going to always be there with us in all things, that there will at times be times of great spiritual struggle, great spiritual attack, great spiritual warfare. These things are present realities, and we need to understand that. So I just think it's interesting we see in John's gospel this story, these two things. We see that Judas makes a choice to betray Jesus, and there may be some intellectual, historical things that he's thinking, or he's thinking through, or he's struggling through, but there's also the spiritual reality of what is happening greater than him. So today, pay attention to the stuff in front of you. Make, as we tell our kids, make wise choices. Make good decisions in all things. Make wise choices, but never forget the spiritual reality that that's always there. Never forget, or never doubt, or never become unaware of the spiritual reality that's there with us all the time. So great things happen, great things to think about today, great things for us to ponder and to live into in our struggles in our life and our challenges each day. So well, thanks for being with us. Tomorrow morning we're going to pick up in John chapter 13. We're going to read one of the great passages on the Bible. Well, no, I'm sorry, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to read uh, another story of temptation. We're gonna get some more good stuff later. But I was looking at John chapter 14. No, tomorrow we got to finish out with Peter's. Um, we're gonna see that it isn't just Judas who betrays Jesus. Anyway. All right, thanks for being with us. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.